Welcome to Rooted. We have a special Rooted class today. This is class 3 of 4, melting tongue to tail. Last week, we focused on nervous system regulation, specifically down regulation. We're going to continue with that theme, whole person, whole body. I'm okay. I can go slow. I can be supported. So down regulation focus today. But we'll do a little bit more movement inquiry and kind of unwinding from the ground in constructive rest position. So come on down. It will be helpful if you have a couple blankets or towels, yoga blankets or regular bath towels, home blankets, something soft, okay? But come on down to constructive rest position. So legs bent, soles of the feet grounded. We're going to do our best to enter sloth mode today. So trust yourself that if you have been going like 180 miles an hour the rest of today, trust that you can become present and that you can feel yourself internally shift a few gears lower, so to speak. Okay. So coming down to the floor, if you are comfortable here with no props, that's fine. If you feel like you need a little something under your head and neck, especially if there's any strain or if it feels like your chin wants to tip up, like it's hard for you to get your eyes kind of level with your chin on the horizon, go ahead and give yourself a little push for the head and neck. And giving yourself a few moments to arrive with your presence into your body. So doing your best to shift gears with your mind, put your mind in service to sensation. Noticing what kinds of sensations you feel. If there are parts of your body that are speaking to you. Maybe also picking up on your pulse, your heartbeat. And the quality of your breathing. And as we start to really feel the head, the back of our head get heavy, we're going to slowly pour the weight into one side. Excuse me. So pouring the weight of your head, brain, skull, eyes, over to one side. You don't have to pick up your head to turn it. Let it kind of roll like a wheel along the floor. Just going however far, it's a completely green light. No strain or effort required. And then let your head stay just as heavy as you start to pour back through center. Gradually coming back to the back of your skull. You can take a little swish side to side or nod yes. And then we're going to pour the weight to the other side. So even in my system, I just had like a little shudder of a sigh or a deep breath come through, like a little bit of weather passing through. So focusing on the weight, the heaviness, the image of pouring liquid across to one side, maybe into one ear or through that side of your face. Letting yourself melt there. Once you have arrived at what feels like enough of a turn, just be there for a breath or two. And surrendering into the earth a little more while you roll back to center. Little shimmy or nod. Good. Bringing your hands up. And create some warmth in your hands. And then the palms of our hands, you can choose whether you touch your temples, your forehead, can cup over your eyes, not putting any pressure directly on the eyeball itself. So just cupped over the eye space, and rest the heel of your hand gently into your cheekbones. You're welcome to make sound or let an exhale be audible. You could do a little circling massage with the heel of your hand or your fingertips. For me, it feels really good to get up through my hair into my scalp. You might go somewhere else. In either way, that's okay. And again, letting your breath do what it needs to do. So it might be deep conscious breaths, or your breath might take on a quality of its own. Good. Finding 2 fingers behind your earlobe, 2 fingers on the jaw in front. And do just a gentle stroke up and down. And again, you might inhale, stroke up, exhale, stroke down, and let your jaw open a little. Imagine the muscles melting. Good. We'll go 2 more times. As you stroke up, give the behind the ear contact a little extra pressure. Maybe gently nodding your head. And then easy stroke down through your neck into your sternum or across your chest and shoulders. Let your arms rest. We're going to let the legs go side to side this time. Imagine that your arms can rest maybe like, I don't know, the image that just came to me is like wet towels, but you could imagine they're like logs resting into sand or streams of water flowing from your heart out through the shoulders and arms into the ground. The case being, find a way to invite your upper body to be passive and restful. Feel the weight shift through the soles of your feet from one side to the other. If your head wants to move, let it move naturally or intuitively in response to what your feet and legs are doing. Letting go of any expectation of, oh, I should turn my head this way or that way. Just let it follow along. We'll go a couple more rounds side to side. Really feel the weight drop through the heels of the feet while you pass through center. And finding your way across, legs to the right. You have some options here. You could stay just like that. You could allow the opposite shoulder and arm to reach on a diagonal, maybe changing the angle of your arm, adding a little reach through the fingertips. You could also press through the top foot to reach the top thigh away from you. It's almost like a single leg bridge. The foot roots down while the pelvis presses forward. Thigh to knee, you're growing longer, longer, longer. If you're taking that stretch, then on the exhale, imagine your femur head plugging back in. Feel your hip crease return. Curl the fingers and find center. So release the diagonal reach, come back together. Reconfigure if need be, and then send the legs to the left. Maybe that feels good, you stay right there. Maybe you add the reach through your opposite arm, up through the fingertips. And maybe that top leg, you sense the big toe side of your foot, nudge it into the floor a little more. Feel your hip extend or press and rise forward to help lengthen, elongate out through the thigh, reaching the knee across the room. Letting your exhale help you retract, condense, fold back in to midline. Good. Arrive at center for a moment. Take a body scan or a baseline and notice, am I already feeling any changes, any differences? Good. Hugging one knee in, we're going to use our hands for support. Give yourself a little circling with that knee. And by circling the knee, what we're actually feeling or initiating is that the femur head is rolling in the socket. So see if you can find that sense of smooth, circular, fluid, lubricated, polished, comfortable range in your hip. And noticing that as you move this leg, as you move that thigh around in the hip socket, notice the muscles around the tip of your tailbone. Can they soften? Trusting that your pelvis is held by the earth. And you don't need to clench or grip, and maybe you can consciously let go. Finding your way towards parallel with that leg. We're going to take the knee into some amount of extension. You can decide what your ankle or foot do. So if you have your foot flexed, that'll give you more length down the back of the leg. Following your breath. So inhaling to extend. Exhaling to bend. We had the inquiry of, can I move my leg and keep the muscles around my tail soft or melted? You're noticing that tension's creeping in up into the tongue or jaw. Yeah. You can also move your tongue or jaw. So sending the message down your whole spine. I'm supported. I can soften or unravel. The next time you take the knee extended, pause there. You can hold or grab your strap for support. A couple good full breaths. You're welcome to let there be sound as you breathe here. Again, if you find that your eyes are fixated or straining, take a little roll of your head or swish your tongue over your teeth. With your next exhale, fold that leg, coming down towards something like a figure four, but we're going to do a little cradling. You don't have to add the other leg for support, just a little easy cradling side to side. Again, you can hold your towel for support or your yoga strap if that gives you a little bit more leverage or leeway. Just inviting that external rotation. So the femur in the socket rolls out, the knee faces the side of your room. Maybe a little quick agile cradle to finish. And then send that leg away. Reach the heel all the way out along the ground. Maybe taking the arms overhead. You could rest there, or you could take what I call a banana. So sweeping the leg and upper body away from that side. So you get some length down the side body, down through your underarm, your waist. Still feeling the head held by the ground, the back ribs broadening and settling. Then come on in back to center. Take a moment just to get situated back into constructive rest. Maybe a comparison of the side we did. And of course, we'll do the other side too. So other leg hugs in. You can have your eyes open or eyes closed. Finding that as you move your knee in space, that you're actually getting movement in your hip joint. Round, smooth, polished ball and socket can swirl or roll, sink and spin deeper into its home base, landing into the socket. Noticing, can I move this side freely without clenching the tongue, the jaw, the muscles around the hips and tail? Almost like the movement of this leg is stirring and clearing that side of your pelvic bowl, making space. You feel your sacrum really grounded, like your tail is rolled out like a red carpet versus coiled and tucked in. Roll your tail out. Let the leg come to parallel. See if you can keep the tail rolled out while you start to move. So straightening and bending. Use your strap, use your hands. You might coordinate your breath with the movement or let your breath do what it needs to do. Again, anytime that you sense tension, you have creative license to do tiny movements or move your tongue, swallow for a moment, using those awarenesses as a way to kind of reset and come back to a more efficient baseline. So we're going to find that leg extended. Maybe 2 to 3 breaths there. Let the arms or strap or towel support you. There is a little effort around the knee and leg to press the heel up. Check in with way down at the root, the tail, that you're still kind of rolling out, sacrum heavy. Good. And then gradually bend. We're going to come towards that cradling action. So letting the knee bend and the thigh rotates out away from midline. Again, you can use your hands or a towel or yoga strap to support and cradle the leg. Little rocking side to side. You might kind of steer your awareness to find, oh, where exactly do I want to land? Right there, feels good. Feeling your shoulders broaden, settle back into the ground. Good. And then when you're ready, send that leg out along the ground. Reach the heel of the foot away. Maybe a little flex and point for a moment. Feel the length of that leg. Maybe that feels good. You stay right there. Maybe you send the arms overhead. Maybe you take your side bend, a little sweep across into a banana. And whether both arms stay overhead or just one, or you support the wrist, you have lots of creative options to give yourself support. And if you took the banana, the side bend, see if you can still let the earth receive you. So softening the eyebrows back through the root of the tongue. One more big inhale to feel the rib cage expand, and then gradually reorganize back to midline, back to center, both legs bent. Take a moment to land. Good. I'm going to do one more element here before we change position. We're going to pour the weight of our head to one side again. Then we're going to do a little internal kind of counter rotation. So first, with your tongue, with your head turned to one side, you're going to take your tongue into that curve. So tongue towards the cheek, towards the floor. And then leave your head and neck where it is, but sweep your tongue across the other way towards the ceiling or towards the opposite ear. Do one more tongue sweep. Tongue towards the turn of the head. And then tongue sweeps up and away, counter to what your head is doing. And then let your tongue rest. Let it go. Once or twice with your eyes, not so much that it creates a headache, just gentle. So eyes see the floor. And then eyes scan and look up towards the ceiling. And eyes to the floor. And then roll the skull back to center. So eyes neutral, head neutral. Take a moment, let that go. If you do sense any kind of residual head rushy, eye strain sensation, that means you probably gave it your all, maybe too much oomph. So make it even subtler. Tiny, tiny effort. Okay. Let's do the other side. So pour the head across to side two. Just turning how far you can really rest comfortably there. And then with this big, strong tongue muscle, we're going to sweep the tongue into the bottom cheek, tongue towards the floor. And then sweep across your teeth, tongue away from the turn of the head or towards the ceiling, top cheek. Once more if you're game, tongue sweeps across towards the ground. And sweeps across your teeth towards the sky. And then relax your tongue, let it go. Small effort with your eyes, soft and subtle, eyes to the floor. Then eyes to the ceiling. Either rest or go one more round. Small, soft effort, letting the eyes roll and slide in their sockets. And then find your way to center. Eyes neutral, head neutral. Let your jaw go. We're going to take a little easy pulse from your feet. So pressing the feet against the floor. La, 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 la. I like to do this with my eyes open. Helps me to orient and not get dizzy so much. Again, the pulse can be very small, quick and light. Let your pelvis stay on the ground. So I'm not bridging or hip thrusting. I'm letting my feet push, 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 push. And then my pelvis and abdomen are sloshing up and down, receiving that impulse from my feet. You could stay here, keep pulsing. If it makes you queasy, pause, rest. You have the option also to reach the legs out and let it come from an ankle pump. Kind of like a slightly bent knee, Shavasana. The more you release the jaw and relax your belly, the better. 3, 2, 1. Pause, rest, let the pulsing go. You might feel some residual shimmery pulsing aliveness. That's your fluid system saying thank you. Go ahead and bend the knees in, roll side to side. And we're going to eventually come to prone, face down. So take your time to get situated. For prone, you're welcome to have a little something underneath your belly and ribs. Oh, pardon me, mandala. I poofed my blanket just enough. So little support under rib cage, belly, from the hip crease and pubic bone up towards the bust line. If you have some tension or tightness through the shoulders, for some folks, it can be nice to have a rolled towel that will go across the sternum and front of the armpit. You could try that. You could also open up your towel or your blanket so that it is a longer but smaller circumference. So longer span to meet the shoulder girdle. And again, that's going to go kind of right into the front of the head of the humerus or armpit. And then a little something underneath your ankles if you feel like that helps you. You can let your forehead come to your hands. Take a moment to check in with yourself and make sure you're comfortable. Like, okay, any adjustments, might as well do them now. You feel any pinchy compression or achiness through your low back or sacrum, you might want more support under your belly. You can give yourself an additional layer or work with a bolster there. So not so much under the thighs, but definitely under the belly. And that brings you into a little bit more flexion, head to tail. A little bit more of a rounded release, head to tail towards the ground. Feel free to let yourself have some yawns or sighs or moans or drooling. Acknowledging how your breath moves with the support of the ground under your belly. So the ground acts as a barrier, which means our breath will ripple up through the back of the heart, back ribs, undulating the spine down into the sacrum. And again, trusting that your legs can be heavy against the ground. Trusting that all the effort that we need in upright weight-bearing postures, or when we go out hiking, or when we're lifting weights, That right now we don't need any of that holding, any of that contracting. You might be able to feel a little bit of a supple breath quality ripple all the way down to the tail, the fan of the pelvic floor spreading open to receive the inhale. And then just let the exhale happen. We don't need to gather or kegel or engage the belly to get the breath out. Just let your body go. So depending on how you feel, you might stay exactly like this. Keep melting, keep exhaling. You want a small movement to engage with. We're going to bend one knee. You can let your forehead stay resting or hover your forehead barely away from the floor. Tiny bit of extension up through the crown of the head. Noticing as I bend and straighten my knee, how easy can I make this? How little can I do to accomplish that movement? Might be a very paradoxical moment in my brain too, right? I like to work. I like to feel things engage. But what if, it could be so easy to bend and straighten. The last time that side, and then let that leg rest. Surrender the effort. Feel that leg, its bones rest into the earth again, and go to the other side, bending and straightening. So my knee and thighs stay on the ground. I'm not lifting my leg. I'm just bending the knee to lift my ankle. And exploring how soft, how efficient, how little do I need to do to accomplish that task. Good. When you straighten that knee, set it down, feel the leg bones surrender to gravity again. Go back to the first side, bending the knee to about 90. You could use a hand if you like feedback. You can bring your hand to the hip crease, the front of that hip, to notice, is there space between my hip and the floor? And if there is, we're going to nudge the hip into our hand or down into the ground. So rather than tail up, hip crease away from the ground, we're going to actually nudge the hip down. Feel that side of your pelvis connect more firmly into your hand or down into the ground. If that feels like enough, just work there. If you want a little more, imagine my hip goes down while my heel goes up. My hip goes down while my heel goes up. 5, 4, tongue easy. 2, 1. Release the heel effort, thigh heavy. You can send the leg back or take a little swish side to side with your feet. La, 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 la. I'm making that sound to remind us all that our face is relaxed, jaw is easy, tongue relaxed. Come to the other side. Other leg goes to 90-degree bend. You can use your hand at the hip crease if you like that tactile feedback. Start to nudge the hip into the ground. So you will feel some glute engagement. See if you can target just the active side. So my right leg on the floor is passive. I'm not clenching that butt cheek. One side passive, the other side active. And go heel down, or excuse me, heel up while hip goes down. A little counter engagement. Breathing there. And then let your knee get heavy, settle the thigh, take a release, whether that means swish side to side or send both feet back. And check in. Maybe you come back down to resting here. Maybe you want to take a froggy, which means you have one leg coming out to the side, kind of like crawling one knee up along the floor. That'll open the inner thigh on that side. And foot change where your foot position might be. Just a few breaths there to feel the space come through the tailbone to that sit bone out through the inner thigh. Like a widening, broadening sensation out across the floor. If your head is turned the same way as your froggy or forehead neutral, you can play with a little rotation, turning your head away from your froggy. And then find center, send that leg back. And take a little sphinx or cobra, a little rise up if you'd like. And then coming back to a neutral spine or a resting spine, and we'll take the other froggy. So the other leg comes up, knee bending. And rest with your nose towards that knee or forehead to the ground. And let the breath work magic. Giving into gravity, trusting your body to give into the ground. Maybe visualizing that that side of your belly streams across the floor out through the inner thigh. Lots of space between the tail and the sit bone, all the way out through your knee. Enjoy one more big exhale. Maybe turning the head away. You want a little bit of that counter spiral. And then find center, stretch the leg back. Little easy extension. And then finding your way through tabletop into either child's pose or maybe a down dog. We haven't really done a whole lot of weight bearing in class today, so absolutely zero expectation to take a down dog unless you're like, yep, I'm primed, I already moved today, I'm ready. You're welcome to sit back in child's pose, curl in, tuck in, enjoy a closing moment. To feel your low back lengthen. You can use your props that you had under you to support under your chest. Enjoying a couple more breaths, especially if you find that you tend towards tension in your abdomen or constipation or just holding and guarding. Can be helpful to bring the thighs parallel so your belly really gets support to rest into in this folded position. You might even hear some belly gurgles or feel some gas move. Let her rip. One more juicy breath coming all the way in. And as you exhale, start to nudge down into the floor. Take your sweet time to come upright. You can sit facing wherever you're comfy in the space. I'm just going to come near you, but you can come upright wherever you happen to land is perfect. Taking a moment to find your sit bones, your roots directly under you, sturdy and steady, connecting into the earth. And from that sense of rootedness or security, this slow, hopefully deliciously slow pace, trusting that we can breathe deep, that we can feel lightness coming up through the crown of the head. Feeling our face at ease and neutral. And if you'd like, let your eyes blink open. Just let the room come to you through your eyes. And if you'd like, gentle bow, head to heart. We are complete for today. Thank you, thank you. If this class felt delicious, you're welcome. If it challenged you to slow down, you're welcome. And keep this in maybe in your notes, right? So if there was something really delicious here for you or something challenging, like, oh, that posture was new or the pace is different for my attention, circle back to this class, right? Just mark it in your notes of like, maybe this is a good one for me to circle back to on a weekly basis or maybe a monthly basis at least, okay? Let me know if you have any questions and I'll see you next week. We'll integrate a little bit of everything we've done in this 4-week series to finish melting tongue to tail.